June 13th, 2005. Only 6 weeks after its triumphant maiden flight, the Airbus A380, the biggest passenger plane the world has ever seen, is en route to the premier air show at Le Bourget, France. Weighing 560 tons, with a wingspan of nearly 80 meters, and capable of carrying up to 853 passengers, the double-decked A380 is one of the greatest advances in aviation history. It is the world's first super jumbo. Few can resist the opportunity to view close up what Airbus hopes will finally stop the 30-year reign of the Boeing 747.
Okay. Cheers to Kingfisher Airline and to India.
But behind the smiles and champagne is a company in turmoil. The recent announcement of a 6-month delay in delivery of the aircraft has sent a shockwave through the corridors of senior management as the clients begin openly voicing their aggravation.
You know, you get embarrassed. Every one of them said, it's a game-changing airplane. It's my competitive advantage. And now you've screwed up my budget for the year.
And even the elite A380 flight test team is feeling the heat. Climb aboard the inside story of a multi-billion-dollar gamble where engineering is pushed to the limits and publicity has no boundaries. A race against the clock to certify and deliver the biggest airliner in history, the Airbus A380. July 4, 2005, Toulouse, southwest France. Although the A380 is finally out of the public glare, it's about to become the most scrutinized commercial aircraft of all time. It has to be. Failure at any stage in the flight test campaign means the aircraft cannot enter into service. For the ground staff and flight crew, the real work begins now. 22 tons of monitoring and computer equipment record every single second of the 2,200 flight hours planned for the test flight campaign. Inside the flight test center, the elite test crew must now set aside the great achievements of their recent first flight and prepare themselves for the biggest challenge they have ever faced. In just 15 months, they must officially certify that the biggest airliner ever built is fit to fly and write the rules for the thousands of commercial pilots who will one day step into the A380 cockpit. Chief Flight Test Engineer Gerard Dubois knows better than anyone that the future of the A380 is in their hands.
You don't fly an airplane using only electrons and personal computers. An airplane flies thanks to physics. We are supposed to put 560 tons of metal in the air. It's an aircraft that will carry up to 800 passengers. We cannot commit the slightest error. There is no room for failure.
The battery of tests begin with the dramatic tail scraping, which sets to determine the minimum speed at which the aircraft can actually lift off the ground. And incredibly, Airbus still need to prove that the Super Jumbo is compatible with the world's major airports. Failure to prove that they can load and unload the aircraft within the industry standard 90 minutes would have a catastrophic effect on future sales. Next up is the so-called flutter test. This test pushes the aircraft to its maximum speed, where it vibrates so violently it can result in total structural failure within seconds. And finally, the single most important test of all, the emergency evacuation procedure. 853 passengers must safely exit the aircraft in under 90 seconds. July 11th, Istres, France. The A380 test plane is about to set down for the first big trial of the test flight campaign. The VMU test, Velocity Minimum Unstick or Tail Scrape test, will establish the lowest safe takeoff speed for the aircraft. As the majority of aviation accidents occur on takeoff or landing, the tail scrape test is vital to the safety of the aircraft and its passengers. On board, the A380 flight test crew know that they have just 2 days to complete 11 successful tests. They also know that if they fail the tests now, a quick shift in weather patterns could bring stronger summer winds, setting back the entire flight test campaign. Fernando Alonso has the difficult task of deciphering the data and writing the rules which will serve pilots for years to come.
Pilots in airline service will use speeds always significantly higher than the speeds that we're practicing now, so that they will never touch the tail, or they will rarely hit the tail.
Because of the low speeds used during the VMU tests, the A380 will inevitably scrape its tail along the runway. To protect the carbon fiber fuselage, the tail is carefully fitted with a steel skid at the point of contact.
This is one of those tests where we really risk damaging the aircraft. There is always a danger of an engine failure, so we must be totally alert.
With the skid finally in place, the pilots can prepare for the first test. At the helm is Jacques Rosé, veteran of hundreds of VMU tests on aircraft of all sizes. But he's never flown one on a plane this big before. No one has.
Le lâcher des freins. 3, 2, 1, top. Power set. 109. Contact, contact, contact. Décollage. Ça monte. Ça a touché pendant un bon moment. Ça a touché un moment, oui. Peut-être qu'on a touché derrière. Derrière? Tu penses qu'on a touché derrière? Ouais, peut-être. Ah bon? Ouais. Oh.
Immediately upon arrival, the crew anxiously step off the aircraft to take a closer look. And it doesn't look good. The 20-centimeter thick steel skid has been shredded to the core, and the damage to the tail cone is clear to all. The crew know they must make a quick decision. Either they continue testing despite the obvious damage, or they head back to Toulouse for a more thorough diagnosis, delaying the entire A380 test program, an option nobody wants to consider. Istres, southern France. After completing just the first of a series of 11 slow-speed takeoffs set to officially determine the VMU, or minimum speed at takeoff, the A380 crew has suffered what might just be their first major glitch in a strenuous 15-month flight test campaign. A minute error in the calculations resulted in far more contact between the runway and its fuselage. Fortunately, upon closer inspection, Gérard Desbois, the chief test flight engineer, believes that for the moment, the damage is most likely superficial.
The first test was not perfect, but was good. The only thing which is a bit amazing for me is we have completely destroyed one tail skid. So we replace it, and we have the double skin protecting the aft fuselage, which has been a little bit destroyed, but it's not a big deal. In fact, it was there for that. So no problem to continue and to go for the second test.
The second run appears to be a success, but with time pressing, the ground crew races to the aircraft to discover that despite a more controlled takeoff, the shredded skid will need replacing once more. Unfortunately, there's a limited number of the specially engineered skids available, so the crew know that they can only afford to use one skid for every 2 runs. From this point on, even the slightest error could put the entire campaign on standby. After 2 days of flawless coordination between the test flight team and the ground crew, they finally complete the 11 low-speed takeoffs necessary to determine procedures for all future pilots of the A380. They can now celebrate a well-earned break, knowing that the A380 is one step closer on the long road to certification.
On arrête l'avion là, de toute façon, pour ce week-end. C'est bon, ils vont quand même essayer de repétasser la queue. Ouais. Ouais. Il manque. Alors ils avaient trouvé des particules. La pomme, elle est franchement pas mûre. Ouais.
Although the flight test campaign appears to be off to an excellent start, behind the scenes, the A380 clients are becoming increasingly nervous. Every one of them has invested a large part of their future in this new aircraft. And in order to protect their investment, they have formed a client review board, a forum where they can raise any operational and technical concerns they may have. And today, they have a lot.
This is a critical issue.
With the recent announcement of a 6-month delay, the clients are beginning to worry. And Airbus commercial director John Leahy knows that if he wants to sell more A380s, the 16 present clients must remain happy.
This is where the rubber meets the road. These are the world's leading airlines, signing up for the airplane, parting with their hard-earned cash. And this is where you've got to deliver.
Unfortunately for John Leahy, the clients agree, and they are more than happy to remind him about the bottom line.
Sometimes the truth hurts, but if this aircraft fails, it's going to reflect badly on the airlines as well as Airbus themselves.
With the clients getting restless and the first delivery still a long way off, John Leahy knows that he must come up with a master plan. Because for game-breaking planes like the A380, there is no room for second guessing. Back in Toulouse, closer inspection of the test aircraft's tail section has revealed significant damage from the first VMU takeoff. All testing is on standby until the necessary reinforcements can be fitted into the aft fuselage. This is a delay that nobody could have foreseen and places yet more pressure on the team. But Gérard Dubois knows that when it comes to safety, there can be no shortcuts.
We're constantly pressed and squeezed by the calendar. But if the airplane is not 100%, it will never carry a single passenger. So of course, we must certify it as quickly as possible, but we have to complete the entire flight test campaign. We would never board a passenger in an airplane that is not totally safe. It makes no sense.
Fortunately for Airbus, good news is just around the corner. The second prototype A380 is ready to fly. While Plane 1 will continue testing the aircraft's structure and performance, Plane 2's crew will test the intricate electrical and hydraulic systems. Today, Gérard Dubois pays a visit to tease his longtime colleague Pascal Verneau, who will be in charge of Plane 2.
Et avion presque fini, escalier de star. Tu le connaissais pas? Ça, Gabi. Parce qu'il est plus beau que le mien. Eh oui, ça fait un peu lido. Ça change. Là, il nous reste un panneau à recevoir. Comme ça sera tout fermé. I consider this aircraft the same as a baby. It's my baby. It's the same as the Christmas. Near to the street at Christmas. I am, oh, it's mine.
For one Airbus executive, however, it's definitely not Christmas. Willie Pierre Dupont has the unenviable task of ensuring that the A380 is actually compatible with the world's major airports. If it isn't, the company's $14 billion investment will be for nothing. For the past 10 years, Willie Pierre has been on a mission to reassure the world's major airports that unlike the Boeing 747, which caused endless sleepless nights, the Super Jumbo will be ready to make it in and out of their airports within the industry standard 90 minutes. Boeing completed the 747 in just over 2 years, but it took most of the major airports nearly 10 years to receive it. The same error today would be fatal for the A380.
It's safe to say we learned a lot from the 747 experience. We knew that with an aircraft this size, we'd have to coordinate with the airports to ensure the project's success.
For a commercial airline, an airport is not a simple car park, and Willie Pierre has to rely on the most sophisticated tools to make the pieces fit the puzzle.
We have to examine the compatibility with the runway and taxiway. We try to locate the ideal parking areas, the types of services we can install around the aircraft. And we have to analyze the passenger movement, since we have an aircraft with at least 550 passengers rather than 400 for a 747. This is an A380 in its parking stall. The sky bridges are already connected. We use 3D to help the clients visualize a 90-minute turnaround and to see all the different service vehicles at work.
Every airport has its own peculiarities, so over the years, Willie Pierre has been doing a lot of flying. He knows that if 850 people and their luggage cannot be loaded and unloaded within the industry standard 90 minutes, it will be impossible for the airline companies to make a profit, and the A380 will instantly become a financial disaster. With most of the major airports racing to prepare for the A380's entry into service, Willie Pierre must start proving that his frequent flyer miles are worth the trips. In just a few weeks at the Frankfurt airport, he will have the A380 number 2 at his disposal. In one 12-hour day, he must prove that all the different service vehicles and passenger air bridges can slip seamlessly in place.
We are very tired because we spend a lot of hours. The general feeling is that we have to be cautious. So we are not overconfident. We say, okay, we are ready for any unexpected event, and that's life. That's like they do the flight test. It's something which needs special attention and preparation.
While Willie Pierre worries about trying to unload nearly 900 passengers in less than 90 minutes, his colleagues in the Airbus safety team must unload the A380 in just 90 seconds.
No newspaper. No news.
Safety team leader Smile Maxon knows that the emergency evacuation procedure is the single most important test in the entire certification program. It is this test that will ultimately determine the number of passengers that the aircraft will be allowed to carry. Smile and his team have spent the last 4 years preparing for this 90-second test. And in just a few weeks, they will have to prove to the world that any commercial flight crew can evacuate every single passenger from the full 2 decks of the Super Jumbo.
Da sehen Sie zwei Augen da oben. This is a historical moment, and the pressure is high, but we are very confident in what we're doing, and we're looking forward to be successful. We're going to be successful for sure. We have to. We have to.
Smile, a crash survivor himself, has come to Berlin to train a squad of men specially recruited from one of Germany's top motion picture stuntmen agencies. This unique crew will be placed at the bottom of the aircraft, where they will ensure the proper flow and safety of the evacuees as they come barreling off the 10-meter-long slides.
Go!
It will be dark, there will be debris in the cabin, and just half of the aircraft's 16 emergency exits will open, and the passengers won't know which ones.
3, 2, 1. Jetzt! Ah! 4 Sekunden.
Fortunately for Smile, after 4 long days, the training session is a success. But how will the team cope with the volunteer passengers who aren't fit, who aren't agile? Smile will know the answer in just a few weeks when the evacuation test finally takes place for real.
If you imagine the amount of money we're putting in 90 seconds, could you imagine the amount of people who are working day by day for those 90 seconds? Imagine the amount of days, of hours, of stress situations, of unfinished work. 90 seconds. A huge amount of money just for 90 seconds.
Back in Toulouse, after a 4-day delay, repairs on Aircraft 1 have finally been completed. And final preparations are underway for the single most dangerous test in the entire program, the flutter test. During the flutter or flight vibration test, the A380 crew must push the aircraft to its maximum theoretical speed, a limit that will undoubtedly test the structure's capacity to simply stay together.
Bon, aujourd'hui c'est pour du bon.
Today's the big day.
Aujourd'hui on rigole pas.
Today there's no more playing around.
Parce que
It's one of those flights that you complete one time in the entire life of the airplane. And you're much happier when it's over.
The flutter test is the only test where the flight crew must wear parachutes, helmets, and orange jumpsuits to aid identification should the worst happen.
It's a very risky flight because we are truly pushing the flight envelope. Obviously, we must wear safety equipment, which will help us evacuate the aircraft if there is any type of problem, a loss of control or something like that. But it's more to reassure us and to reassure the authorities, because if there is a real loss of control, I don't think we'll be able to evacuate the aircraft.
While the aircraft makes its way to a test area over southwest France, the monitoring equipment on board is already sending back information to the staff manning the telemetry station. Here, ex-pilots, engineers and specialists study and analyze every imaginable parameter of the aircraft. Nearly 150,000 parameters are monitored every single second. Former fighter pilot Daniel Giraud-Sauver is the director of the A380 telemetry station.
When you're in telemetry, we are living the moment. We hear the flight test engineers, so you are in the aircraft. So it's very important to follow up all the tests in telemetry, because we can help the flight crew, flight member, flight test engineers, and to optimize the flight test campaign and to be sure of the results of the flight test campaign.
To achieve certification, the A380 must reach just below Mach 1, the speed of sound, without experiencing abnormally strong vibrations. The only way to achieve this speed is to climb to 38,000 feet, then descend as rapidly as possible. It will take them several attempts, as increment by increment, they edge ever closer to a speed just below the infamous sound barrier.
Ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1, stop.
As the aircraft reaches its first major speed outside the flight envelope, Mach 0.89, the cockpit begins to shudder, but the flight crew know that this kind of vibration is normal. The A380 has survived its first extreme test. Now the flight crew and engineers feel safe to push on towards the more dangerous speeds. Somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, the A380 inches its way towards its target speed. Mach 0.92, Mach 0.93. But suddenly they hear a noise. Chief Test Pilot Jacques Rosé has felt a twitch. After a quick consultation between the air and the ground, the flight crew decide to immediately halt the test.
Very nice.
As soon as the A380 touches down, the crew hurry under the aircraft, where they quickly find the source of the problem. Because of the extreme vibrations, a large section of the undercarriage has become detached. Aircraft 1 will have to go to the hangar again, causing yet another delay that Airbus could definitely do without. Toulouse, southwest France. The Airbus A380, the world's first super jumbo, has suffered a giant setback. During a series of flutter tests, the test flight team set out to ensure that the plane could reach its ultimate theoretical speed of Mach 0.96. But at Mach 0.93, a large section of the undercarriage nearly tore off the bottom of the plane, forcing Airbus engineers to come up with a major redesign of the entire section. The operation has caused another setback in the arduous 15-month-long flight test campaign. Now, with the renovation coming to completion, Aircraft One can finally resume the highly dangerous tests.
There's a lot of unknowns. We haven't been there before, so all we have is the predictions and the tests done by the design office. And now all that is only predictions, and now it's up to us to go and see what the real airplane has inside.
After a final ground check, the A380 test flight crew set off for what is without a doubt the most dangerous flight of the whole campaign. Back in the telemetry room, everyone is manning their post. They all know that failure is not an option. As the flight test crew push the A380 towards Mach 0.96, the slightest abnormal vibration could cause serious damage or even complete destruction of the aircraft. Mach 0.94, Mach 0.95. The A380 begins to tremble relentlessly, but with the aircraft holding together, the crew members try to shake off their nerves. Reassured that they can attempt the final push, the crew takes one more dive. Within seconds, the aircraft hits the ultimate speed of Mach 0.96. In the telemetry room, the engineers celebrate the fact that their aircraft is now flutter test certified. And with the plane back on the ground, the test flight crew can finally breathe a sigh of relief.
Je suis bien content. Je suis bien content. Oh, Fernando, are you happy?
Oh, very happy, very happy. We took good care of him. He took good care of us also.
October 2005, Frankfurt Airport. After 10 years of scrupulous planning, Willie Pierre Dupont's big day has finally arrived. Because of the extremely tight test flight schedule, Willie Pierre has been given just one 8-hour window to test every conceivable ground handling procedure needed for an A380 airport turnaround. The day the aircraft enters into service, it must be able to get in and out of an airport under the industry standard 90 minutes. Today, Willie Pierre must prove the A380 is up to the challenge.
Half an hour and that's okay. We'll see.
But before Willie Pierre can start his long day, he needs the A380. And the weather is making everyone a bit nervous.
The weather is getting worse. But not Cat 3 yet. Not Cat 3.
Okay, we have to break for this weather.
The billions of dollars invested in the entire A380 program will be for nothing if it proves incompatible with the existing airport infrastructure. Willie Pierre Dupont is feeling the heat.
We've worked extremely hard to prepare this test. We've all put in long, hard days. Now, we're just excited to finally get a go at it. It's a very strange moment, and I have a feeling I'll feel better at the end of the day. We'll finally be able to relax and have a beer. But for now, we have to focus on the job in front of us.
Let's see, just on time. Superb. Here we are.
Excellent. Right on time. We can finally get to work.
The clock is now ticking for Willie Pierre and his team. Over the next 8 hours, they will orchestrate and test catering vehicles, fuel bowsers, aircon units, power units, de-icing machines, and the 3 new passenger bridges needed to load and unload the 2 full decks. But as the test gets underway, Willie Pierre is quickly informed that there is already an unexpected glitch.
The door, there are some difficulties, so we have to make sure it works. Either closed or open. Okay, that's fine. Good. Feel better now.
Another important box is checked. But with the seconds passing, the cargo team must quicken the pace. They will now have 7 hours to verify that the 21 different servicing apparatuses can latch on to the Super Jumbo without a snag. If anything goes wrong now, Willie Pierre and his team will have to come up with a new plan.
1 hour behind. Okay, même position, clockwise, anti-clockwise.
After 8 long hours, Willie Pierre and his team can finally step back and enjoy the last test of the day, the de-icing machines. More importantly, they can now safely say that months before the first commercial flight, the A380 is ready for the 90-minute airport turnaround.
I'm getting tired, but when I see my team, they did a great job, and I think they will need a good beer tonight and some rest.
While Willie Pierre finally takes a much-needed rest, matters are not shaping up as simply for Airbus commercial director John Leahy. As an immediate response to the dissatisfaction voiced by the client review board, John has begun inviting his clients to view their aircraft on-site in Toulouse. But John knows that this new tactic will not be enough to win around his impatient customers. They want their aeroplane, and they want it on time.
We're not just building a slightly larger version of a 330 or 340. This is an airplane designed in the 21st century to have a life of over 50 years. It is bringing 21st century technology into the market today. It's a learning curve for everyone, and the important thing is to get it right and to get it on time. You have to do both.
John Leahy knows that with the pressure mounting, he cannot take any more chances. He has to come up with a plan, and quickly.
Okay, there we go.
Back at the test flight center, John's plan is finally revealed.
The first one gives
the A380 is to set off for a 10-day publicity tour, taking it to Singapore, Malaysia, and 3 of Australia's major cities. But for the flight test team, the Asia-Pacific tour is just one more delay in their time-pressed campaign to certify the aircraft. And with the A380 back in the hangar for a landing gear repair, the crew are beginning to voice their concerns.
We are just trying to do our job, which is to test airplanes. And it's difficult to test an airplane when you send it halfway across the world.
But at the end of the day, it's all about selling aeroplanes. So with the landing gear problem out of the way, John Leahy's Asia-Pacific tour must go on.
End of the story, of this bad story. We can go. D'accord. Juste si c'est vous Vanity, je regarde ça monte et tu retournes 5 minutes et puis on rentre la station. Sinon, allez, on va faire asseoir tout le monde. Ouais.
Although the flight team are still reluctant to pull Aircraft 1 out of the test campaign for a 10-day publicity tour, there is much they can accomplish on the trip. The first leg is a direct flight from Toulouse to Singapore, and it will be by far the longest flight taken by the prototype.
This is the first time we can test the airplane in standard service, with passengers aboard a long-range flight. We'll actually be able to see how the A380 will perform as a commercial aircraft.
While Aircraft 1 makes its way towards Asia, in Hamburg, Germany, a third A380 fresh out of the factory is now parked inside one of Airbus's largest factories, where final preparations are now underway for the 90-second evacuation test. If the A380 fails this test, European Aviation Authority and the American FAA will not certify the aircraft for public use, and the authorities will be monitoring very closely indeed. safety team leader Smile Maxon knows that the last 4 years of his life spent preparing for this test must now prove a success.
Right now we're going to verify all the security cards and all the seatbelts. After that, we'll wait for the authorities to arrive.
When Airbus announced that the evacuation test would be held in Hamburg, they were inundated with thousands of requests of hopeful volunteers. For many, the allure of the awe-inspiring A380 is almost magical. The aviation authorities have decreed that 40% of the passengers must be female and 35% must be over 50. Safety considerations are paramount, and the volunteers must be tested for any pre-existing health conditions. In addition to the 20 flight crews supplied by Lufthansa, 853 passengers will be chosen. None of them really know what to expect.
Actually, I'm a little bit scared. I read in the newspaper that it's possible that you might hurt yourself a little bit. So, well, I'm very excited what's going on.
During the 90-second test, the 120 highly trained, hand-picked crew of safety specialists will have the ultimate responsibility for the security of the volunteers. And while they assemble the cardboard safety structures that nobody hopes will come to use, Smile makes a mental run-through of the test he and his team have been preparing for over 4 years. With only an hour before the big moment, everyone must be 100% ready. Back in the waiting hall, the passengers are becoming anxious. Too much waiting means too much time to reflect.
It's just a bit strange because you don't know what's coming next and you're just standing here with a lot of people and it's just a strange feeling.
A strange feeling that can only get stranger as the wait continues. Aboard Aircraft 1, the flight test crew are treated to a royal breakfast hand-delivered by A380 program director Charles Champion himself. In just a few minutes, they will touch down at Singapore's Changi Airport for the first stopover on the Asia-Pacific publicity tour. Changi is home to Singapore Airlines, the A380's launch customer who are due to take delivery of the very first 380 off the production line. This will be the first time the aircraft has landed outside of Europe, and the crew can hardly hide their excitement.
13 hours and 20 minutes. The flight was good. The weather was good en route. The team was in good spirits. And I think that's what's important before we start a long trip where there's going to be a lot of work. It's good that the team be in good spirits.
As the door opens, Changi staff quickly demonstrate their brand new passenger bridge, specially built for the A380. And several hundred invited guests, including the infamous Singapore girls, enjoy the opportunity to finally get a closer look at the world's first Super Jumbo.
Side by side. And you see?
Meanwhile, inside the passenger terminal, John Leahy heads for the nearest TV cameras.
Starting about 1 year from now.
While the Airbus executives go into publicity overdrive, vaunting their new protege, the ground crew have discovered a minor problem with one of the air conditioning units. And with the local ground staff beginning to crowd around the aircraft for a souvenir picture, Gérard Desbois tries to discreetly come up with an emergency solution.
We lost a joint on one of the air conditioning ducts, so we were actually forced to cut off one of the air conditioning units. So we've decided to employ the French touch and fabricate a new joint with what little material we can find here on site. And tonight, we will take off again with a little extra weight, but with an air conditioning duct that works well enough for us to complete the trip.
Within just a few hours of landing, the Asia-Pacific tour is set to resume. The next phase will take the test flight crew to Australia, where they will visit Sydney, Melbourne, then Brisbane. Given the rigorous schedule, the team must seize every opportunity for rest. For the first time in their long careers, their duties are going far beyond simply flying an aircraft.
Alors on y va. 2, 4, 1, stop.
Back in Hamburg, the critical 90-second evacuation test is finally about to begin.
Today it's a big day, yeah. It's a little bit tense. I went through my checklist 10 times. Normally I did not forget something, but again I go through the checklist and checklist again, and that's it.
While Smile knows exactly what is supposed to happen in the next few minutes, the passengers don't seem to have the slightest clue.
We are going to the machine, then I think we get a command, and then we get out.
Plane is dark, then suddenly something will happen, some doors will open.
You're pushed to go out. And then, yes, I hope I will go out.
It's just a matter of minutes before Smile and his team will know if they can evacuate 873 passengers from the biggest commercial aeroplane ever built.
The 90-second, and then happiness, delivery.
"4 years in the planning, millions of dollars spent. One of the most important milestones in the A380 certification campaign. 873 people must evacuate the double-deck aircraft in under 90 seconds. 8 of the 16 emergency exits will be blocked, and the passengers don't know which ones. There will be debris on the floor. It will be dark. To add to the pressure, the aviation authorities are monitoring the entire procedure through 40 different infrared cameras. And nobody in the aircraft knows exactly when the signal for emergency evacuation will finally go off.
Right.
Evacuate! Out!
"78 seconds, 873 people and just 1 injury. For the Airbus A380, it is a victory without precedent. For Smile and his team, it is a moment of triumph."
4 years of my life, preparation for this evac test, and we did it. Watch this.
Above the Sydney Harbour, Aircraft One is now on the last leg of a 3-city tour of Australia. In just a few hours, they will touch down in Brisbane, where Qantas has planned a spectacular 85th birthday celebration of the Australian carrier. On board the plane, after nearly a week of constant travel, the flight test crew is beginning to lose all notions of time.
It's not very easy because we don't know exactly where we are, what time is it. We are always in the sky. For me, I am always on duty. So when we are in cruise, I have nothing to do because the aircraft behaves very well. So I take this opportunity to sleep. And sometimes we go to the hotel also. It happens sometimes.
But immediately upon touchdown in Brisbane, the show must go on. And Qantas has invited a very special guest star to host the event.
Alors l'arrivée de John Travolta, donc sur moi.
I'm doing this with you for the first time. I'm very excited. I can't quite believe it. All right.
After nearly 10 days of non-stop travel, the A380 crew finally gets a welcome break. For John Leahy, the Asia-Pacific tour has proven an incredible success, and the test flight crew members are the first to acknowledge that fact.
It was very hard so far, but tonight it was beautiful. In fact, all our burdens are completely forgotten by the enjoyment of this birthday tonight.
They said something that really touched my heart. For them, aviation forms a link between their far-off land and the rest of the world. And I can truly identify with that, and I really understand what they mean. So I'm extremely happy and proud to represent the A380 and to bring them our airplane.
As the A380 makes its last stop in Malaysia before heading back to France, the flight test crew are proud of their new aircraft, but they know that the test campaign is far from over. The whole project threatens to be derailed by the mounting commercial pressure on the company. Airbus has to sell another 90 aircraft just to break even, and they're struggling to meet the orders they already have. There is a long way to go in the amazing story of the world's biggest airliner, the Airbus A380.
At the same time next week, there's a brand new episode of Extreme Engineering coming your way. After the break though, cyanide is invisible but deadly in Forensic Detectives.